Hey everyone, it's Lynette Schaefer, and in this video, I will be showing you how to incorporate EiKO's network lighting controls into nearly any project. Now, before I get started, I realize that many people run the other direction when it comes to lighting controls. I, of course, did the same thing many years ago, but incorporating controls into projects nowadays has gotten a lot easier, which is a good thing. And the reason for this is because many of EiKO's products today are now controls ready, which basically just means that the fixture or even maybe the lamp can take controls very easily. It can accommodate controls without the need for any wiring. This means that anyone can install the control solution, making it super simple, easy, and ultimately less expensive too. So this means that whether the solution is a standalone or a network lighting control solution, you can easily add it to your lamp or fixture. So how does this work? Well, you see two pictures on my screen right now. There's actually going to be a third one here soon. But the first one on the left-hand side, this is basically a twist lock design using a Z10 receptacle. Now, this can accommodate standalone or network lighting controls. And those, of course, look something like this. You might see them if you go out to EiKO.com. The next one is the screw-in design, and this can easily accommodate standalone microwave or PIR sensors. As you can see right here, it's just a screw-in design versus a twist lock design. Those that currently go right directly into that screw-in receptacle are here. They are only microwave or PIR. However, if you want to convert this into a network lighting control solution, you can easily convert it to a twist lock Z10 receptacle using this little adapter, which you're going to learn about here very, very soon. And then the last design or easy way to add controls is something that EiKO is going to be showing and launching mid-year 2023, starting with our troffers. And this is what we refer to as a snap-in design. You can see that that sensor easily snaps into the fixture. At any rate, anytime you see this little icon, the controls ready icon, you know that either the fixture or in some cases even the lamp can easily accommodate controls without the need for any wiring. And that is, again, for maybe either standalone or networked. It just depends on what product you have. The entire idea behind this is to make adding controls simple, easy, and quick for the installer. And don't forget, again, this works with either standalone or networked. However, for today's training specifically, we are going to focus on networked lighting control solutions. So let's get started with the Z10 twist lock example. So step one, you need to choose your fixture. Any fixture with a Z10 receptacle, such as the LLHE, the VERT, the SIG, or the SCS, will work. Those are our fixtures that come with a Z10 receptacle. The next thing you want to do is choose your fixture controller. Now, a fixture controller is required because it is what receives the signal from one component to the other, and then it tells the fixture what to do. So you have to have a fixture controller. Now, the fixture controller options for a Z10 receptacle is either an option A, which is just the fixture controller. We refer to this as an FC1 Z10. And you would actually have one of these for each fixture. Now, through the app, you can use, or actually through the iOS app, you can set these fixtures up for high end or low end trim. You can basically set your customization for higher, low end trim. You can also create zones and groups. You can also have individual fixture addressability, and you have some very limited personal control using the iOS device as well. Again, that is just a fixture controller. At this point, that is the only lighting control strategies that you would achieve unless you incorporate, say, a sensor or you incorporate a switch or something else. Option B is actually a fixture controller with a sensor all built into one. This also allows you to have high or low end trim. You set that through the iOS app. You've got your zoning. You also have individual fixture addressability. You also get daylight harvesting and or occupancy or vacancy. And again, the daylight harvesting, the occupancy, and the vacancy is all programmed using the iOS app. And again, that app is free. So you choose option A or option B. And then the third step is to choose your accessories. So in an outdoor application, and especially when using option A, which again is the FC1 Z10, You can certainly choose to use a range extender per group. It's actually recommended because it helps boost the signal. If you see here on your screen, option A, the FC1Z10 has about a 65-foot max range as far as communicating from one device to the other. With the range extender, that will help boost that signal tremendously. I've heard in some cases up to 800 feet, that might be a little bit far, but at any rate, you're probably talking at least 200, 300, 400 feet, if not further, okay? So you're gonna want the range extender for those reasons if you're doing an outdoor application of some sort. Now, you may also choose to go with another range extender, and this second range extender is one with a timekeeper. And this doesn't only boost the signal, just like the basic range extender, but it also gives you the ability to do some scheduling with a built-in 24-hour backup as well. Currently with our iOS device, if you were not to use the range extender with timekeeper, you would have very limited scheduling capabilities. And if you lost power, you would have devices to the iOS device, which is kind of a pain. If you're using this range extender with the timekeeper, it's got that 24-hour backup, so you don't have to worry about reconnecting any of the fixtures through the iOS app if you do lose power, and as long as you get power restored within 24 hours. All right, so those are the options with that. There are also 5 different switches that can be incorporated if you want, but it's not necessary. The nice thing about this is that it will provide different scenes. It will provide you with personal control outside of the iOS device, and it will also give you continuous dimming. So again, pretty easy. Option A or option B. Do you want sensors? Do you not want sensors? If you use option A, then you're going to probably want to incorporate a switch or maybe a range extender with scheduling. Otherwise, you're kind of defeating the purpose of having a network lighting control type of situation. Otherwise, if you choose option B, that's got the sensor already there. You can see the sensor on that one for option B. It has about a 200-foot max range. So in those cases, you probably don't really need to use any of the range extenders if you don't need to, because it already has a pretty substantial range. Okay, so as far as the switches go, I'm not going to dig into these too much, but I just want to let you know the first 3 switches, they just go into a standard box, just a standard light switch box, single gang box, and it uses 120 to 277 line voltage. Now, just keep in mind, these do not get wired into the circuit. They just need power, right? This is all wireless network lighting control. So they just need power and that's it. So you basically have a rocker with on, off, and dimming. You also have an on-off dimming with built-in PIR sensor that can be programmed through the software or through the iOS device for occupancy or vacancy. And then you also have that 4 button that has the ability to assign 4 different scenes. Again, all of those fit into a regular J-box, but they do not get wired into the circuit. They just need power. And then the last 2 that you see here on the far right, we have a single or double wireless rocker pad that uses kinetic energy. These don't need any power whatsoever. This is really cool, as a matter of fact. So you can easily use these in like a classroom or a conference room, or even an outdoor application where you need a portable control device, or you just don't want to walk to a switch, or maybe the switch isn't there, or whatever the case is, and you can easily control the fixtures through those kinetic devices on the far right. Those are probably my 2 favorite switches, the WS4 and the WS5. So those are your switch options. So just to drive this home just a little bit further, let's take this athletic field. So let's say you want to use a mixture of, I don't know, verts and SIGs, and they want 2 zones. You will need 1 fixture controller per fixture, and you would easily attach that through the Z10 receptacle. And now let's say they want to be able to control these fixtures with a switch, and because they don't have a single gang box handy, and they want to be able to go out into the space and be able to use the switches in that location, they want to incorporate maybe a WS4 or a WS5, completely up to them, depending upon, you know, if they want a 2-scene or a 4-scene. So they would then incorporate a switch in each of those zones. And then since these are mounted up on tall poles and they are using the FC1Z10 with a 65-foot communication range, they want to incorporate a range extender too. And so they go ahead and decide that they're going to put a range extender in each one of those. And that, of course, needs power as well. So you would incorporate that somewhere where you can get to 120, 277 volt power. But that is basically how that whole setup works. And those are all your parts and pieces and components to an athletic field. All right, moving on. So next, let's move into a screw-in example. So again, you choose your fixture. Most of these that you see here are not quite launched yet, but will be very soon. They all have a screw-in receptacle. And then of course you would need to then, if obviously you want to use network lighting controls. Again, this presentation is all about network lighting controls. So in order to convert the screw in to a network lighting control device, you would need to use this little adapter that converts it from a screw in to a Z10 twist lock, right? So now you are back to what we just talked about in the previous slide. You then choose your fixture controller. Do you want the FC1Z10 or do you want one with a sensor? Then you, of course, choose whether or not you want a range extender, and then you choose what switch you want, if you want switches at all. And that's how easy that one is. So very simple. So any screw-in fixture can take network lighting controls as long as you use this little converter that converts it to a screw-in to a Z10 twist lock. And that's the part number you can see here on the screen. Okay, so that's that one. Next, there's another option called a snap-in, also available a little later in 2023. It uses a snap-in fixture controller with sensor. You saw that in the very first slide that I opened up with. And this provides, again, low or high-end trim, zoning, individual fixture addressability, daylight harvesting, occupancy, or vacancy sensing. So this little sensor is a sensor with fixture controller. It's kind of like that round one that you saw in the previous slide, not the FC1Z10, but the other one. Very similar to this, it just looks a little bit different. So again, this one here snaps into the fixture, very easy. You can do it in the field. It gives you high-end trim, zoning, individual fixture addressability, daylight harvesting, and then of course through the iOS device, you would set it up as an occupancy or vacancy sensing. And then of course you can choose whether or not you want a range extender or what switches that you want, if you want to incorporate any switches. And just keep in mind, in most cases in an indoor application, you probably don't need a range extender unless you want to do some sort of detailed scheduling. Then in that case, you may want to incorporate the range extender with timekeeper. Okay, next we're going to move into this actual same sensor. I know you probably didn't see my screen change very much, but this is actually a new slide. So this same sensor slash fixture controller is currently being used to add network lighting controls to our current volumetric retrofit 2x2 or 2x4, as well as our new STR strip fixture, not retrofit fixture. It is a strip fixture, STR fixture. And this is all done through our fixture modification program. So as I mentioned, this particular little push in or snap in sensor can be used on new fixtures that are coming in. But if you have an immediate need, we can easily take that exact same sensor and add it to our existing VOLR or our STR fixture. The way that you do this is you add -LFD to the suffix of the part number. And through our fixture modification program, we will go ahead and insert this little fixture controller with sensor onto that fixture and send it out to the job site. All right, and then of course you would incorporate, again, whatever switch you might want. So that's another option. So we have yet another one. And so another way to add EiKO's network lighting controls to fixtures is by using a 1/2-inch knockout located on the fixture. We know there's plenty of fixtures that have a 1/2-inch knockout. Just understand the fixture must have 0 to 10 volt dimmed off driver. It must also have 12 to 24 volt aux and a minimum 60 amp rating as well. Now, the current fixtures that EiKO has that will utilize this type of design with a 1/2-inch knockout are the LLW, the VTS, the WPA, the STRR, and the WPS. Field set and power set version only. Now, if you choose to use the STRR, you need to make sure that the existing fixture that you're retrofitting does have 1/2-inch knockouts on one side or the other side. That is the only stipulation. And in most cases, 99% of the time, most strip fixtures do have that, but just make sure it does before you sell the project. So once you have your fixture, you then purchase this little 1/2-inch knockout adapter, which is an SENA Z10. This is currently only available in white, but we are going to be coming out with it, I think, in black or brown. It'll be a darker color, and that will be a little bit later this year. This, of course, would be field installed. There may be some cases that we could potentially do a fixture modification. Just check with us and we'll be able to tell you if we can do it or not. Otherwise, it can be easily field installed. Then, of course, you choose your controller. Again, either the FC1Z10 or the SENAWZPA with the sensor. Then, of course, you choose your range extender with timekeeper, or your switches. And that is how you can easily convert a 1/2 inch knockout fixture, as long as it has those specific requirements, the 0 to 10 volt, dim to off, dimming driver, the 12 to 24 volt aux, and the minimum of 60 milliamp. You can convert any fixture, not just our fixtures, but any fixture, to this type of design. Okay, so that's another option as well. And then, of course, we have the last one, which is a room level or circuit level network lighting controls. This little setup can work on any 0 to 10 volt dimming fixture, which is pretty cool. So what happens is you would purchase an FC2 fixture controller and you would install it in the field. It does have an integrated 16 amp relay that can operate up to 1200 watts using low voltage control wires. All fixtures wired to this fixture controller will perform the same task. The FC2 can also provide 12 volt power for a sensor and has a max range of about 100 feet. Okay, so basically the way that we're talking about with this is that this would get wired in basically to a circuit, and it would also have low voltage control wires running from fixture to fixture to fixture. So I do realize a lot of people think about network lighting controls as not having to have low voltage control wires, but we also realize that in a lot of retrofit and renovation projects, low voltage control wires may already be there. And if you have a small room that you want to have all the fixtures perform the same task and all be linked as one zone, this is an easy way, a really inexpensive way to be able to achieve that. And even in new construction, nowadays you can pull wire that has all of your wires in one, basically one wire, what do I want to say, one complete unit, so that you can easily just run one set of wires and have everything right there. And then you can easily, use this FC2 if you wanted to. So very simple, easy way to incorporate it. And then if you wanted to, you can also incorporate an optional ceiling mount sensor, because obviously the FC2 can't do anything if it doesn't have something telling it what to do. So if you want to incorporate a sensor, so the sensor sends a signal to the FC2 to tell the fixtures to turn on or turn off or whatever the case is, you can certainly incorporate this SCNA-WCPA into it. And of course, this will give you the high-end trim, the zoning, the individual fixture addressability, the daylight harvesting, the occupancy, the vacancy sensing, and you can easily get power for this thing from the FC2. Or if you have a nearby fixture that has 12 to 24 volt aux, you can do that too. Or you can also purchase an individual power pack if you needed to. Either way, this particular sensor needs power, right? And it has a couple different ways that you can do that. And then just like all the other ones, if you want a range extender, you do that. If you want a range extender with timekeeper for scheduling, you can certainly do that as well. And if you want to do scenes, you would incorporate your wall switch. And again, most times for indoor applications, you probably don't need the range extender unless you want to do scheduling. All right, so with all of that being said, there is certainly a lot to think about, but there are a lot of cool ways that you can incorporate our network lighting controls, whether it's a very simple twist lock, snap in, or screw in design, perfect. If it's more wired related, we can certainly accomplish that as well. We do also have a gateway that is kind of in the back of our portfolio. So if you have anybody that wants to do energy monitoring, or they want to do some scheduling without a timekeeper, we can certainly work with you on incorporating a gateway. Just come to us on those projects and let us know. Now, the last step in this whole design is to do some pre-planning, found at the Silvair.com website. Silvair is the backbone of our entire system. Now, you don't have to do pre-planning. I like it because you can create your project, you can upload floor plans, you can create your zones, you can create your profiles, you can do all that before the job is even installed and before you even get on the job site to do any commissioning. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I'm a big fan of the pre-planning, and it kind of sets us apart from a lot of the competitors too. So the other thing I just want to say too is the pre-planning has nothing to do with having to label fixtures. It doesn't have anything to do with having to put the fixtures in the right places, nothing like that. It is basically just setting up the project and getting it ready for when you actually get to the project and you're ready to commission. You can also need to download the Silver app onto any iOS device. Currently, it's not Android, it's only iOS. Once the fixtures are installed, you commission your devices using your iOS device. Again, if you decide not to do any pre-planning, you can just go to the job site, open up your iOS device, click on the Silver app, and we have a complete video that takes you through all of this. And you can find those at EiKO.com, click on resources, and then click on demand. Or we also have a landing page that you can also find with all these great resources and tools. I hope you enjoyed today's training. And if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me at lynette.schaefer@eiko.com. Just note there are 2 N's in Lynette. Thank you for your time today.